Everyone, I'm Charlie, and welcome back to the DraftKings DFS EPL slate breakdown. Three-game slate on our hands here. It is a city slate. However, interestingly enough, Villa are bigger favorites at minus 300, while Man City sit at minus 150. And it also includes the Brentford game with both teams at plus odds. So yeah, just a three-gamer here. Pretty light for a Saturday. And let's get into lineups and set piece takers. For Aston Villa, it should be Tielemans, and I want to say Bailey. There's a chance that Motson or McGinn ends up taking something. Tielemans is like the only guaranteed set piece taker on this team. And then like the left-sided corners or left-footed corners could really be any combo of the other three guys. And then for Southampton, it should be Manning and Fernandez. If there's no Manning, Dibbling would be the backup set piece taker there. Brentford and Newcastle for Brentford, with Jensen still injured likely, it should be Damsgaard and Mbuemo. And then for Newcastle, it should be Hall and Gordon. If Tonali's in, though, he should end up having a share. Last game ended up being like Gordon out swingers and Tonali in swingers, which left Lewis Hall as kind of the guy who was only on free kicks rather than corners. So it gets a little weird when there is all those guys together. With no Tonali, though, in projected, it should be a straightforward split between Gordon and Hall. Although I think they did score off the Bruno Guimaraes free kick at the death, but I think that was probably an outlier rather than a new kind of pecking order. Palace and Man City. For Palace, it should be an Eze monopoly in this team. If Will Hughes ends up starting, it'll probably be a split. And then for Man City, it should be mostly De Bruyne, although there is a chance that Savinho or Grealish ends up taking a couple there. But it definitely is De Bruyne's team. Had that crazy game, finally getting a start back from injury. If he's not in, though, just because they might still kind of restrict his minutes a bit, should be Gundogan and then potentially Savinho or Foden, depending on who starts. I know Foden is dealing with an illness, so wasn't even on the bench last game, but definitely can see him coming back in for the lineup. Prices, Duran, Doku, all too expensive for me. Watkins in play 8,900. I don't mind that. Holland at 8,700. I think that is so cheap for him. That's crazy to see him that low. That probably is the lowest he's been all season. And yes, it is. I know he's been out of form, but that is just wild to see him that cheap. That's kind of crazy to see for sure. The other thing of that, another thing to think about, excuse me, is that there is UCL this week. So we definitely could see early subs once again. There's been weird rotations and early subs all month so far. We're only like a week in just because of December, a ton of games. So yeah, just another kind of facet to it. Don't be surprised if you get some weird subs like even Holland potentially. And Ollie Watkins definitely is not exempt to that either. They could even end up starting Duran from the beginning. Who knows? We'll have to wait till lineups. And even after that, definitely can see some weird subs, like I said. So yeah, Holland, that's super tempting. Savinho, I don't mind 8,500. Gordon, I don't mind at 8,100. Watkins, I talked about like that a lot. Duran, man, I don't like that he's that much if it ends up being him over Watkins. Definitely in play just because of the matchup, but that's definitely a lot. Sar, I don't really love Palace here with it being City. I think they might finally kind of rebound with De Bruyne back in the lineup. Archer for GPP, I don't think is crazy, even just to make a build work where you maybe prioritize mid and defender, punt a forward slot. I don't mind him as that punt. But yeah, the big ones are Villa pieces, are Man City pieces, and Gordon potentially is like your set piece taking alternative. Midfielders, De Bruyne is the big name, of course. Playing him for sure if he starts, frankly. I know he's getting up there at 10,400. That is not cheap at all, but he's just so good. So good. Like, I don't really get why Pep hasn't given him a chance earlier. There's so much talent there. He gets a ton of DFS points through key passes, crosses, shots, goal contributions. He does it all. I love De Bruyne here. Mbuemo, I don't mind it 9,200, but once again, he has a bit of a floor to him, although it's not really worth the price. You're looking for a goal contribution for sure. And I don't know if he does that for sure against Newcastle. Definitely in play, but I definitely go to Bruyne over for what the 1K difference 10 times out of 10. I'd say 8,200. It's a tough matchup. I could still get behind it though, just because of the talent there. He's so good. He's performed in these tough matchups before. Definitely need a goal contribution, but I wouldn't put it past him just because he's just that good. Tielemans 7,600. I think that's a good play too. I know his upside isn't crazy and he doesn't have pens anymore. They finally gave those back to Ollie Watkins last weekend, but he's just a solid floor player. 10 to 15 is what you're getting out of him, which you can debate if that is worth the 7,600 or would you rather chase upside more through a guy like Damsgaard who gets a little bit more goal contributions, although tougher matchup. So both those guys, I don't mind. Definitely in play. Probably a preference thing. Gundogan, if there's no De Bruyne, that's a good play. Otherwise, I don't really. He was all right last game. I don't mind it at 6K, but don't love him as much without set pieces for sure. Other guys I'm thinking about for value, Mateus Fernandez at 4,500, McGinn 4,400, Bailey at 4,300. If there's no Digne, I love that. I think he probably is the most likely next man up for set pieces. Not maybe it's like a 51% over the rest of the guys because it really can be any of them. But he definitely has upside. And at that price, I know his minutes aren't the best typically. Even then, against Southampton, minus 300, I'd happily go to Bailey at that price. Will Hughes 3,800. I think it's a tough matchup. Tonali, I don't mind at 3,600. Wasn't crazy last game against Liverpool, but did have a few set pieces. Played 87 minutes. If he starts, I don't mind that. It's just a value punt. Same with Dibbling 3,200. If there's no Ryan Manning, potentially sets there. Tough matchup, but at 3K, I don't think you can do a ton wrong. Super talented player too when you watch him. I don't mind Dibbling. Defenders, Gavardio is the pay up. Just he's just such a ceiling kind of play. Doesn't have a ton of floor like your traditional expensive fullbacks. No set pieces there. But even then, I don't mind a Gavardio here. I'd rather go a Digne if he's in. Digne's a core play for me if he starts. Was fantastic against Southampton, 18 floor. Likely set pieces for him. He usually ends up being the guy who splits with Tielemans. So I love Digne if he's in. Lewis Hall, he's all right. If there's no Tonali, probably ends up having a larger share of set pieces. Doesn't do anything crazy. He's not like a bomb down the wing kind of fullback, but he gets a lot of tackles, gets a decent amount of crosses just from set pieces. So I don't mind a Lewis Hall 5,800. It's not the best play, but not awful for sure, considering there's not a ton of great defender options. Matson, I can see picking up a decent share of ownership. I think he's all right. A little bit of a minute concern there, but he's been all right when he's played. You just worry about the minutes a tiny bit there. But even then, 4,300 with that matchup against Southampton at home, not bad. Now, Ryan Manning. I love Ryan Manning. Red card early in this, like right at the end of the first half against Chelsea. Still got there. Just a super solid play at wingback with set pieces. That might be a core play for me, despite it being a tough matchup away to Aston Villa. Southampton have just refused to do anything else but play out of the back, keep possession. Because of that, they get a ton of chances to get DFS points, even when they're big dogs. Like they'll lose 4-0. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Southampton will still try to play out from the back and attack anyways. So you'll see them get decent floor points, even if they get pummeled. Like they're not going to park the bus. They just kind of refuse to do that. Because of that, I like Manning a lot. That might even be a core play as well. And then after that, it's probably CB punts. Like that Nathan Collins, not bad. Share, not bad. Got that goal last time out. Dan Burn, I'm fine with. Just pair him up with like a set piece taker. Hope for a goal off of a corner kick or something. And core now. I think it's pretty straightforward if Digne is playing. If Digne starts, I think you just go Manning, Digne, De Bruyne. If we see no Digne, I probably end up going Manning, KDB, Bailey. I think that's what I'd probably do. I love Manning so much. I don't know if you'll get necessarily a ton of ownership, but at 3,900, I just can't not go back to the well, considering he was the same price against Chelsea and still got there for sure. But yeah, guys, that'll be it for interesting slate, and I'll see you for the next one.